Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mike.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look back at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
We're going to get into the nitty-gritty and examine the good, the bad, the ugly, and the laughable in these movies.
But we're always coming from a place to love. You don't watch these movies as much as we have unless you have a genuine affection for them.
Everybody, welcome back. It's Kevin, and I'm joined by original 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger co-host Mike.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited. We're also joined by a special guest star, another Kevin in the mix, Kevin Egan. How are you doing, Kevin?
What's up, guys? It's great to be here, being referred to as a star. What a generous opening! How exciting for me!
And Kevin is also my brother-in-law, so there's like a lot of family.
It's pure nepotism. But no, we were chatting before, and I can tell Kevin knows his stuff when it comes to these movies. So yeah, we're gonna this series we're gonna talk about the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Terminator. I'm excited and nervous. I get nervous when the movie's a really good movie.
Yeah, Kevin, do you have Egan, do you have a favorite Arnold movie? And it doesn't, if it's Jingle All the Way, don't be embarrassed to let us know.
I've never seen Jingle All the Way. I don't know if that's embarrassing to say or if that disqualifies me immediately for this show.
It's actually a lot of fun, by the way. But it's terrible, but it's terribly awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I feel like Kindergarten Cop, it's got him as like one of his better comedic performances, good action. I love that movie.
Yeah.
But I definitely love the Terminator series.
Funny enough, that was Arnold trying to branch out in his acting chops, right?
Yeah, that and Twins.
Trying to get emotional.
That and Twins was like, let me show you what I can do. And they were good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you recall your early exposure to Terminator, Kevin?
I do somewhat. I know for sure that I saw it like a cable television, like a TBS or TNT run of it. So, it was edited. I definitely feel like I watched it at too young of an age. I don't know how old I was, but I just feel like my mom, I think, had told me about it originally. And she's like, I watched this crazy movie about this like robot. And then I think I saw it not too long after that, and it freaked me out. I mean, don't give anything away, but the eyeball cutting scene left this real impression of I don't know if I want to see this again.
Yeah, I was just trying to say that when I was watching this movie again, I was trying to remember why is this movie so bad, right? And then they got to the eyeball cutting scene and the scene where he's cutting his hand. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely not for kids.
Well, I had some real gore. Mm-hmm. In this movie. And I think I grew up like you watching the same, a TV edited version, but I think they left a lot of that stuff in. Because I remember the eyeball, and I remember him rooting around in his arm, trying to fix, whatever was broken inside of his arm or something. And it's just it was bloody and nasty, and not for a 7 or 8 year old or whatever I probably was when I was first watching this on TV.
Yeah, I feel like probably the only thing they edited out was the sexy times between, Sarah Connor and...
Yes. Yeah. They might have cut out some blood splatter or whatever, that type of stuff. But what we normally do is we go through a little bit of the background of the people who were involved in the making of the movie. So I'll get to that. Movie written and directed by James Cameron. Fucking dude is the action movie god.
Never heard of him.
This wasn't his first film, right? He had done a couple other things, but this is one of his earlier films.
It kind of was, though. He was credited as directing Piranha 2.
Okay.
But then I heard that he didn't actually direct anything, but they just wanted an American's name down as the director because it was an Italian production or something. And he was working on the crew, but he kind of got fired. from the crew, I think, because he kept trying to take over.
Oh, yeah. I think I
It
heard
was
that
something
story,
crazy.
yeah.
So this was like his first thing that he wrote, and that was his vision or his idea, I guess.
So the story I've heard about James Cameron is that he used to be like a truck driver or something.
I don't know that.
I heard he was like a truck driver.
No, I think he always worked on movie. I thought he always worked on movie sets, but he was like building models and like in a special effects department.
And then maybe to pay the bills, he was like a truck driver. And he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So then he started working in the movies, and he started out as basically like a gopher, like a PA or something like that. And he kind of just basically worked his way up. And like you were saying in Piranha, I think that they were just tired of him trying to take over the movie.
But he probably would have made it a good movie, if they just let him have his way.
Or Piranha 2.
But yeah, he was like working for Roger Corman and doing all these like really shitty sort of B or C or D level like exploitation type movies, like just building models and working in the effects department. But after he did Terminator, he followed up with Aliens, and then The Abyss, Terminator 2, True Lies, Titanic, and Avatar.
That's like a jump, right?
People like to hate on Titanic and Avatar, but like they're not bad. And they just made a shit ton of money.
He's like Mel Gibson, right? You know how everybody thinks Mel Gibson's a jerk, but the dude makes good movies, right? And James Cameron makes good movies. Like I'm excited to see Avatar 2 when it eventually comes out, right? But
you're gonna get the senior citizen discount. Probably it's gonna be like another 20 years. But
probably. But I mean, James Cameron just knows, like, has a passion for storytelling, and he knows what he likes. That's why he takes his time producing stuff. And he just does quality work. So,
I mean, honestly, Aliens is like my all-time favorite action movie.
I am right there with you on that. That is definitely my favorite all-time action movie as well.
Yeah, it's just like, especially like the last hour of that movie is just solid action, and it's amazing. So good. All right, I can tell Kevin's got good taste in movies.
And it's such a, I mean, not to go on an Aliens tangent, but it's such a departure from the original. Like that movie felt so claustrophobic and like a thriller horror movie, right? And then this like wild battle movie, like that was just epic. And what a run for Cameron. I'm like, what director outside of maybe Spielberg has a run like that?
I think he's like on the list of like his movies have made, the most money ever. He's probably behind Spielberg.
Well, yeah, I'm sure with like Titanic and Avatar alone.
Those are like two of the top five, I think, still to this day.
And with Terminator and Aliens, two strong female leads, right? Which is like back in the 80s, early 90s, that was unheard of. So hats off to James Cameron, right?
And apparently the idea for Terminator came to him like after he'd gotten fired off of Piranha 2. He was like in a hotel room in Rome or something, and he was very sick, like, and had like a fever dream about a robotic skeleton sort of with a knife, like chasing after a woman or something. And he took that and turned it into
I don't know
Terminator.
What kind of mescaline he was doing back then. But.
But so, also getting writing credits on the movie is Gail Ann Hurd and William Wisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, this dude, William Wisher, I think, said he described this movie as "It's a Wonderful Life with Guns." Which, I guess he's not far off.
And Gail Ann Hurd, of all those Walking Dead fans out there, should know her as one of the primary producers for that show. And so she also came off of the Roger Corman bandwagon too. So just another the Roger Corman family.
And I can tell you for a fact, Gail Ann Hurd knows that this podcast exists.
Oh, how is that?
Because an ex-girlfriend was like in some sort of management training class that Gail Ann Hurd was talking in or something, and she told her about it. She was like, "Oh, my friend does an action movie podcast, and he just wanted me to tell you that he thinks you're awesome." And whatever. So I'm like,
oh, so she knows it like that. Like
she knows. Yeah, I don't think I'm sure she's never listened. Although, no, she's probably.
She was like, as I'm talking.
She's our number one fan
in this seminar. Let me talk about.
She's probably listening. No, she's probably listening right now. I have to assume that she is.
Hey, Gail, return my phone call, please.
Yes, I got an idea for a movie. Exactly. I would love to talk to you. Gail Ann Hurd, like I think she ended up marrying James Cameron after this movie came out. And then they separated and she married Brian De Palma.
What? Who else was Cameron? He married Linda Hamilton.
He married Linda Hamilton, and then he went and married the woman who was like played the old Rose's daughter in Titanic.
Oh yeah.
So they both were like meeting people on the set, I guess, and falling for him.
I know this is way off topic, but who directed The Hurt Locker?
The woman who did Point Break.
Yeah. I thought she was married to James Cameron, but no.
I don't think they were married. And it's Catherine Bigelow.
Catherine Bigelow, yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
She wasn't married to James Cameron?
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. But James Cameron did produce Point Break.
Okay. So I thought that was in there somewhere. Hollywood's so incestuous that who knows?
I don't want to rewind this too much, but I'm really struck by this comparison or analogy of this being It's a Wonderful Life with guns.
Because it is like, what would the world be like if you didn't exist?
Yeah.
Type of concept, I guess.
So like Kyle Reese is like the Clarence, like coming down to earth.
He's the angel.
Yeah, that's wild to me. I mean, I love that. I might feel like I'm going to be referencing that a lot now.
With killer cyborgs.
Yeah.
The music was by this dude named Brad Fiedel, who I think this was also his first big success. He wrote the whole score like in his garage on synthesizers.
Nice.
Which is awesome to me. Then he did the score for Terminator 2, and he went on and did the score for True Lies also. So Cameron must have liked him.
That's Hollywood is cool that way, because all you got to do is you get that foot in the door, right? And if you're worth a damn, then you can move on to bigger and better things. So it's always cool to see how somebody started off like as the music director of this movie, and then they go off to do like these big things. And even I'm not saying this guy got nominated for an Oscar or anything like that, but you know how it's cool to see how people grow within Hollywood.
I mean, I would say the score for this movie is like perfect for this movie, though, right?
Very 80s.
And I mean, it should be sort of sound whatever, electronic and robotic or whatever, for this type of movie. I think he had said that his idea was basically that the score is like the heartbeat of the machine, like the heartbeat of the Terminator or some shit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's to me it feels really close to like what John Carpenter does a lot with his movies. Like the John Carpenter sound, right? Like when he does the music for his movies, like it has a very distinctive sound. And I feel like this was very close to that.
That's a great call, because it's very simple but very like effective also.
Yeah.
And then finally, we usually don't mention like the special effects gurus or whatever, but on this one we'll mention Stan Winston. Like I think this was one of his first big things. And he just killed it, like with all the mechanical effects, the hydraulic shit, and the building all the weird puppets and models. And
Stan Winston went off and did Jurassic Park, right?
Oh, dude, he did like everything.
Yeah,
though. I think he did the Predator as well. Like, I mean, he just sort of he became like the guy when it came to practical effects.
Yeah, again, it's always cool to see somebody who starts off on like the slow budget film. Although this movie was made for like $6.8 million, I think.
But that's pretty cheap
back
in the scheme of things.
But it's always cool to see how they just grow within the industry. And like this, Stan Winston went off and did Jurassic Park, which is still today the goalpost for like special effects movies, right?
And of course he did Terminator 2, which also set the bar. Like, yeah, he was always, I think, Stan Winston, like at the forefront of what was possible with special effects. The movie stars, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the icon himself. He was sort of unknown, I feel like, though, still at this time, like an unknown commodity.
He had made Conan, and when he was making this movie, he was in the process of making Conan 2 or Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah, he got pulled away or something to go do Conan the Destroyer. And he had been, I think maybe people first found out about him in the documentary Pumping Iron about like the world of bodybuilding or whatever.
So he wasn't famous.
Yeah, he had basically done Conan, and people were like, "Oh, here's this dude. He's getting into movies." But I think this movie is the one that like really blew him up. As far as like after this movie, he could sort of pick and choose and have his choice of what movies he wanted to do next or whatever. Also stars Linda Hamilton, who is not known from a whole lot of stuff in her whole career.
I think she had done Children of the Corn right before this. This is like her big movie.
I mean, she did this, right? She did the sequels to this. She was in that Beauty and the Beast TV show. You remember that with like Ron Perlman?
Yeah, I feel like some people, they make like their movie, and they're like, you know what, I'm good, right?
And we'll have to mention like the third star of the film, of course, Michael Biehn, who also was sort of an unknown guy. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're doing a movie on the cheap. is you get like a lot of young up and comers because you can't get A-list type people in it. But he was sort of in his career, I think up to that point, he was like a dramatic guy, was trying to do like stage shows and stuff like that. The funny story is that he came in to audition for this movie, I guess, and they thought he did good, but they rejected him because he had sort of a Southern accent. And they told his agent, like, oh, man, we loved him, but he had this Southern accent, and that just, we don't want the character to have a Southern accent. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, Michael Biehn's from Nebraska.
And what's wrong with the Southern accent in the first place? I'm from the South. We're all from the South.
They didn't want him to sound like a hick, I guess. But he had just come from like an audition for, I think, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or something, and he was still like locked in on doing the accent he had been doing in that movie, and so he carried it over, and they had him come back in, and he did his normal accent, and they were like, okay, great, yeah, we want you.
So I mentioned this earlier. I wonder if, so when Michael Biehn got signed for this as Kyle Reese, he had to have thought that, hey, I'm the lead of this movie, right? It's a toss-up between him and Lyndall Hamilton,
I mean,
right?
I'm definitely like the hero, right?
Yeah, absolutely the hero. So I wonder if, because most movies back then, if you had like the lead and then like the filmer lead, then the person that plays like the robot killer was just like kind of a throwaway thought, right? But it turns out that Arnold Schwarzenegger became the biggest star of this franchise, right? So I wonder, I don't think Michael Biehn would ever talk about it.
You got to give him credit for being like the title role, I guess, the Terminator.
But I don't think that, but I don't think that he has like less than 100 words in this movie.
Oh, yeah, he barely talks.
Yeah, he barely talks. Like, I just figure being signed up for this was like, okay, this is going to be like my big movie that's going to like catapult me to the next level. And it was actually Arnold that became like the most famous out of everybody.
But, Biehn was in like some good ass movies after this. He seemed like he was always sort of playing like a commando or Navy SEAL type guy, right? He was in The Abyss playing a Navy SEAL. He was in Navy SEALs playing a Navy SEAL. He was in The Rock playing a Navy SEAL. He was in Aliens playing like basically a Navy SEAL. But I mean, he sort of
Space Marine. I'm sorry.
He was the Space Marines or whatever. Yeah. But no, I mean but he's good at it. Stick with what's working. Oh, and we can't forget about Tombstone.
Oh yeah,
like Johnny Ringo.
Also, he was in Grease.
He was in Grease?
The Travolta Grease?
Yeah, I just happened to look this up.
He must have been a little boy.
Because I wanted to see if this was his first film, and they said, and according to Wikipedia, that he has a bit part in Grease where he's uncredited, but he's playing basketball, and John Travolta punches him in the stomach.
Oh,
holy
shit.
Crap! Wow.
That's awesome. He was probably like legit high school age.
Gotta look that up for sure.
And Travolta is like probably 30 at the time.
I got beaten up by an adult John Travolta in this movie.
Travolta was playing an 18-year-old though. That's what's so funny about it.
Oh my God. And the movie has a lot of other like familiar faces, but we can mention those as we get to them because I want to get to the movie. Okay, so yeah, movie opens Orion Pictures, which we've done an Orion movie before on the podcast, RoboCop. But Orion, I think the story is they thought of themselves as like this sort of small indie studio that was going to make like award-winning type movies. And then I think their biggest successes were these pulpy like action flicks though. Although they did Silence of the Lambs, I think might have been their big like breakthrough.
What was the Weinstein Company?
Yeah, I know what you not Miramax.
Yeah, Miramax. Yeah, so they were like early Miramax.
I think so. They were like thinking. They did a bunch of. They might have done Dances with Wolves, but early on they weren't having much luck with like the art house movies, and the ones that were making money for them was movies like this and RoboCop. But yeah, so we open with a scene of Los Angeles in 2029, which is not that far away anymore.
Seriously, that's crazy, right?
And I feel like it's just total ruins, right? But I feel like we're getting there. Like it might be that way. We got 7 years. But yeah, we got these like futuristic aircraft sort of hovering around. There's shooting at these unseen targets. A large tank rolls over this like huge pile of human skulls.
Yeah, and we should mention that is like a James Cameron like signature shot where he has like something crushing some skulls or rolling over something and crushing it. Like, and it comes up. It comes up in this movie like a couple of times, almost to the point it could be like a drinking game, because he does it. I know he does it at least twice more in this movie. He probably does it more than that.
I feel like the first shot of Terminator 2 might be a skull getting crushed.
That's like how would he have done that in Titanic? Like, what could have crushed something in Titanic?
The Titanic crushes a whale skull,
the iceberg or something like that.
I think yeah, but I think a lot of these shots are like forced perspective and miniatures and things like that. It's kind of
sure. Yeah.
James Cameron like knew every special effects trick, I think, but for a movie from 1984, like it doesn't look that bad.
No.
Like, I mean, there's some shots that look bad, but I think a lot of these future scenes look pretty good.
And there's a lot of that back screen type stuff. Like
there was like rear screen projection, but he was using that even in Aliens on some shots that also look fucking great to me. But
it makes it work, right?
No, you stick with what works and what you know will work in 1984, I guess. There's people scrambling around to avoid these blasts from the aircrafts and the tanks. And then we get this scroll of, I guess, exposition. It says, the machines rose from the ashes of the nuclear fire. Their war to exterminate mankind has raged for decades. But the final battle would not be fought in the future. It would be fought here in our present tonight.
Yeah, which I remember seeing that. I was like, this whole movie takes place over like several months, not just
days at least. But not tonight. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it gets me pumped up.
Oh yeah,
like reading. You know what I mean? You're like ready for like, let's have the war of the world.
Let's kill some humans.
And then we roll the opening credits. We got that great music. Like I think they went synthesizer, because it was cheap, but it feels appropriate to me for the movie. And like the cool font, the cool animation.
Oh, when the Terminator,
yeah, like it's like the future.
Sure.
That might even be the letters Mike picked like the font for the podcast, and it might be something like the Terminator font.
I don't.
Or was it Total Recall font? I can't remember. But the credits roll. We pick the story back up. Los Angeles, 1984, 1:52 a.m. We see a garbage truck. It's emptying a dumpster, and there's a big electrical disturbance. We'll say like blue lightning everywhere, which I'll mention, Kevin. I don't know if you listen to the podcast much, but the regular co-host John, like these blue lightning effects are his favorite thing to see in a movie. My favorite thing is like grappling hooks. and John loves blue lightning.
I mean, I get it. It feels like that's a harbinger of some cool shit.
And the blue lightning in this movie was tight. Yeah, we had just done the movie Street Fighter, like the Van Damme movie from the 90s. And it had blue lightning effects that looked like dog shit, like compared to these movies that were 10 years older.
I wonder when After Effects was invented.
I don't know what was going on. We like to joke that like they must have just been trying as hard as to get that movie finished as fast as they could. Street Fighter, like they didn't have time to let it fully render or whatever. But yeah, so we got this garbage man. He's driving the garbage truck and he's stunned to see this hulking, muscular, naked man materialize out of thin air. It's the Terminator. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, so at this point, you don't know it's the Terminator, but I will mention that when he first appears on screen, it's very like clean. He's very stable. He's, he just kind of appears on screen, which, later on when Kyle Reese shows up, we can get into that later, but it's like very opposite of how he appears. And it's those like subtle little hints that Cameron puts in the movie that are really cool because he doesn't say, hey, this is the Terminator. He just kind of shows you that this is something that's unusual,
Well, Schwarzenegger's looking like young, is in his prime, But yeah, the garbage man bails out and runs away. And the garbage man was played by this actor named Chino Fats Williams, which he's turned up before in the movie Roadhouse. He was in like Iron Eagle, and he was in Rocky 3.
But you would know him for his voice, like a very distinctive voice. I think he was in Crossroads also.
Yeah, he had all these bit parts in these 80s classics, though.
Yeah,
it's kind of great.
Yeah, I mean, you would recognize his voice as a very like guttural, like he's been. I think he was in Weird Science. He was in that movie. But it just like we'll have to. I don't know if you can play the voice for them, but it's a very distinctive voice.
Oh yeah, when he talks, he's I'm trying to channel my impression, and it's just not going to work. But he sounds kind of like this.
That's really good.
So if you were the garbage man and you saw this exact thing happen though in front of you, like how would you react, Kevin?
My God. Yeah, I mean, I would get the F out of Dodge. Like,
I think so.
The blue, like going back to the blue lightning is enough to be like, I don't think what is about to happen is going to be good. And I don't think I need to be around for it.
I'm with you, man. I think I don't feel like the garbage man was out of line at all to be like, I'm done with that.
I feel like in 1984 Los Angeles, though, blue lightning happened all the time. Like, I feel like that was no big deal.
We talked about Big Trouble in Little China, right? And there was blue lightning all over the place. That was San Francisco, but nevertheless. Yeah,
I imagine
right.
people
like
just
Transformers.
like running around naked too, like at all the times, just like whacked out on who knows what.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so the Terminator stands up. He looks around his surroundings. He's checking out 1984 Los Angeles. The story goes that Cameron's initial idea was that the Terminator would just look like a normal average person who could like blend into a crowd, you know, and be sort of in secret until the moment that he stepped out to kill you, which is a great idea, but that is definitely not Schwarzenegger.
Well, I think so again, they haven't really established that this is a Terminator at this point. I mean, we all know it now, right? But
I'm sure previews and posters and everything, you sort of knew.
We should mention that one of the people that they were thinking about casting for this role was O.J. Simpson.
Oh shit!
But the reason they didn't cast O.J. Simpson was because they thought he was too nice. they didn't think that O.J. Simpson can pull off being a murderous robot, and
and what has he done to prove that any otherwise?
Maybe he was just still trying to audition.
I'm just saying, Cameron, he was never found guilty. That's all I'm saying, right?
I think it stands up.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think one of the writers, maybe it was Wisher, had said like, you know, they wanted a guy who could blend in, but then they're like, yeah, but you know, it's the 80s and it's Los Angeles, and there are a few guys around who kind of look like Schwarzenegger, just like big jacked dudes or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to say, like, it works. You just get the impression from looking at Schwarzenegger that he's like invincible.
Yeah.
You know, and you could buy that there's like a robot underneath his skin. Oh, they said like the way you mentioned, I think, Mike, the way that he moves, the Terminator, like he's very sort of fluid, smooth movements.
I'm wondering if he took like some lessons to move like a robot, like not like a
because he doesn't move herky jerky like that, But I think I saw an interview where he said him and James Cameron talked about it, and like that the most efficient, you know, it would be these very efficient movements, which is like no wasted motion and
sure.
Sort of.
So like RoboCop, for instance, moved like a robot, right?
Right.
But not the Terminator. He was very fluid in all his gestures and movements, and yeah.
I would imagine a career of being a bodybuilder would lend itself to that too, right? Like I feel like if you're a professional bodybuilder, you're training for efficiency and like controlled movement. It seems, sure. I mean, I'm no expert in that. I'm definitely not a bodybuilder, but it feels like that could be like, okay, like I know how to do that sort of like really controlled, precise movement. That's what built into my training.
Sure. I think that's a great point. I think you're 100% right. Like the poses, you know, how you move on stage or whatever in front of the judges like that. But so now we cut to, there's these three kind of punk rock type dudes. They're amused to see this like massive naked man approaching them. His dick was just like swinging in the wind as well. Like if you got the Blu-ray, you can sort of see everything.
So it's interesting. They gave the Terminator a dick. Why?
That's what I'm saying. Why'd they waste time putting a dick on the Terminator?
Why would you do that? Why didn't you just Ken doll him and
right? Like because that's like a complicated bit of anatomy.
Like somebody had to grow that in a lab, right?
Right there, I mean, there's no way it's like functioning. So, because I don't think the Terminator like eats or anything like that or drinks, you know, to like be pissing.
I mean, fast forward way ahead of time, right? Didn't the Terminator like settle down and have like a wife and a kid, like in the last?
But it wasn't his child.
Oh, and his kid. Okay.
I don't think they ever fucked. I don't think the Terminator can like. I don't think that is functioning. It's like just strictly cosmetic. But I don't. I think
Cyberdyne Dick Labs.
This conversation with South.
But I had the same thought. Like, why would they even waste time? Like, what are the chances that people who see him, I could see if a lot of people were going to be seeing you naked, then they'd know you weren't human. But only a few people are going to see you naked before you probably acquire clothes.
So I guess the only other option was they could have like green screened Arnold Schwarzenegger's penis out of the movie. So who's going to like wrap that green tape around and make sure that they digitally remove it later on?
Green tape around it.
It should have been a little robot claw. Like that should have been the only part that was like clearly a robot. Was like instead of a dick, there was just like a little like almost
an
like
alien. Kind of like Aliens.
Yeah, exactly. The little mouth that came out. His was like a little like grabby claw.
It was like a claw, like the claw game you try to grab a toy
exactly.
with. Oh my god!
And inexplicably, it's carrying around a plush toy the entire movie.
That was
a very different film.
Interesting scenes later on for sure.
Oh my god!
Sorry.
So Bill Paxton is like the leader of these trio of punks. Who Bill Paxton is a James Cameron frequent collaborator, right? He's like he was in Aliens, and he was in True Lies and Titanic. I feel like he was even in other Cameron movies.
Yeah, and this was Bill Paxton back when he was trying to pay rent, right? So this is early Bill Paxton.
Yeah, he had the spiked out hair and sort of these like tread mark, like whatever painted on his face, sort of, I guess, looking like an 80s LA punk. And then one of the other dudes who I recognized from that trio was this actor Brian Thompson, who was he was in Lionheart. He was the main bad guy in Cobra, and he had a recurring role in X-Files. He was like the alien bounty hunter, whatever. But he had like a very like sort of muscular looking face. This dude.
That wasn't the big dude that he got the clothes off of, right?
No, it was that was the other guy, the one who was sort of Paxton threw the beer in the guy's face when he was looking through the telescope or whatever. That was this dude, Brian Thompson. I don't know who the big guy was. I think he was probably just someone they could find that was sort of like Arnold sized.
Yeah. And what's so funny is I remember when I looked at it again today and I was thinking those clothes look really big on that guy, like abnormally big. Like why?
Well, maybe punks like to wear the baggy shit.
Yeah. But I mean, they look like his jacket looked just like 2 sizes too big for this dude that was already big, right?
That's true. They should have had Sven Ole Thorson.
Yeah, so I was like, why didn't they just get another
bodybuilding type dude, Viking?
Yeah. I mean, they have Frank Columbo in the movie. They could have just used him, right?
Yes. But so these dudes, they like make fun of the Terminator as he's walking up. I think Bill Paxton says, this guy's a couple kids short of a 6-pack. I'm like, I don't think I'd make fun of this guy personally.
Yeah, but you didn't know he was a Terminator, right? You just thought it was
I just thought he was a 6'3", like Mr. Olympia dude who's clearly, he's must have some shit going on that he's walking around naked.
Arnold's height has been disputed. So
that's true. He might be 6'2" or even 6'1". But I want to believe that this time in his prime, he was probably 6'3".
Yeah.
He's like shrinking now, I think. But he kept sort of repeating what the guys were saying, which I think, to me, I took that as sort of the Terminator not learning English, but like learning how to interact, sort of like storing phrases or trying to interact with humans and pass as a human.
Yeah, and I'll go with even learning English, because what if Sarah Connor had been in France, right? And so with the first couple of things,
they could have programmed him to speak French, maybe.
Yeah, but the first couple of things he says was, some French words. So.
Well, I wonder why Cyberdyne like programmed this thing to have a German accent or an Austrian accent.
So what I've heard is what they're trying to say is the Cyberdyne hasn't achieved like perfect English yet. Cyberdyne hasn't achieved perfect English yet. So like me, and that's why the accent works, because they haven't perfected it yet. Because it's kind of like in The Matrix, like they don't know what chicken really tastes like, so they just feed you whatever.
Oh, the machines are doing their best to like mimic a human.
Can
shape a penis, but can't get the English language down.
That's awesome. Oh my god! But so the Terminator says, "Give me your clothes," and all 3 of the punks, they pull out switchblades. Paxton says, "Fuck you, asshole," to him, and Terminator like shoves him down. It knocks the 3rd punk down. And then I think Oh, dude, I got to mention Paxton has like the distinction of being the only dude I think smacked around by a Terminator, an alien, and a Predator.
So that's an interesting point. I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine, Brock. I have to name drop because I want to cite my sources here.
What's up, Brock?
Because we were talking about this, and the only other person that can also claim that trifecta also is in this movie, and he shows up later.
Okay.
Oh,
we'll have to wait for it.
What? So we wait for it. We'll wait for it.
Yeah. So then Brian Thompson stabs the Terminator, and Terminator just like kills him by punching right into his chest.
Yeah.
That shit was
crazy. Were they trying to say that he pulled his heart out? Was that what that was, or he? I
don't know if he
pulled out his insides.
I think he just like it'd be like having an axe like plunged into your chest. I don't think he like ripped any organs out. I just think it was like. That kills you.
Yeah, because when he punches him, it seems like he pulls like something out of him. I think it's just to say.
I thought it was just his clenched fist.
Sure.
From the punch.
His bloody clenched fist.
But that shit was crazy. Yeah.
Which was why that other guy was like, yeah, here's the clothes.
Dude's like, no, take my clothes, please. But do we think that the Terminator killed that dude?
Yeah, he just punched
and killed Bill Paxton, or did he like let these guys live?
Good question. I think the Terminator's complete goal is to get to Sarah Connor, right? And if he has to kill to get to her, he will. But I don't think he necessarily goes out of his way to kill, because there's scenes that come up later on where I think that he could have pursued Sarah Connor in order to kill her, but he doesn't. And he would have had to have killed other people to do it. So I think that killing is just a means to an end for him.
I don't necessarily think that he's like worried about like leaving witnesses behind.
Oh yeah, no.
Because he's just like, what are they going to do? Like, no one's going to be able to take me, you know? I'm not going to get arrested or anything. Like, even if the whole whatever, every policeman in the city comes, like, it's not going to make a difference. But
I think Paxton is dead though.
You think he got sort of shoved across? Yeah.
Yeah, I think if he was like just punching a guy and punched through his chest, then I think a toss. Maybe it's not illustrated there, but that toss probably just turned all his bones into gravel.
Sure, yeah. He tossed him into like a metal pole. Or
it's probably like getting hit by a truck or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, elsewhere in the city, there's another electrical disturbance, and this naked dude falls down onto the asphalt. That's Kyle Reese. That was a brutal stunt.
Yeah.
Like, that shit looked like it hurt, man. Because that was, I think, just some poor naked man getting dropped onto asphalt.
Well, and also, it goes back to like how Kyle is introduced, right? And when he comes from the future, it's very hectic. And they actually talk about it later. I almost feel like he did this spur of the moment, right? Like he just kind of jumped into this time vortex, like threw his clothes off and just jumped in. And
that's the story they tell, right? Is that like he got sent through right as like everything was going crazy in the future, like the whole complex was about to explode or something.
And it's really cool because they show all his battle scars, right? Like you don't see that on the Terminator. Like he comes, like I said, he comes in clean, but Kyle, like he looks like he's been through a war. He's got like all these just massive scars on his back. I don't know if there are bullet holes or stab wounds or whatever.
Look like some burns and stuff.
Yeah, but he looks like totally gritty. I think Cameron was trying to go for, you don't know which one of these guys is the bad guy yet, but in hindsight, obviously we know what it is. But
I'll tell you, I watched this movie like a few weeks back with someone who had literally never seen it. And I mean, I'll probably reference her throughout. But yeah, later in the movie, like she thought they were both bad guys.
Yeah, I would have thought
like
that
she
too.
thought they were both people who were there to try to kill Sarah. You know, the bad guy sent through two people or something like that. But yeah, it definitely leaves you wondering, I guess, right? Like what these guys' story is at least.
It's not as big a twist as T2, but I still think that if this is the first time we're seeing the movie and we don't know anything about it, I wonder if we would have been like, I wonder what's going on with these, like which one's the bad guy, which one's the good guy.
And it feels like maybe, like, because that seems like that would also play into the, I mean, this would be flashing forward, but like Sarah Connor doesn't know either, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like there are scenes where she clearly has no clue and sort of mistakes who is after her. So I do feel like there is something to be said about like sort of making it ambiguous enough to like be able to see from her perspective.
I would say, I guess once we've seen like Schwarzenegger / Terminator punching through dudes' chests, like it's safe to assume he's a bad guy. And he's not human or something. But yeah, it's that's
a fair point.
We don't know about this other dude, Reese, yet. But so he encounters this homeless man and he steals his pants. And that dude, he cracks me up. I just have that line of dialogue burned in my head where he's like, "Hey, buddy, did you just see a real bright light?" Like, that dude was convincing as hell, man. Like, as the homeless guy.
I don't think that was an actor. I think that was a real homeless guy.
So the actor, his name was Stan Yale, but he's played like a homeless man in at least 6 movies that I saw. Like, so that was his expertise.
But it's not the same guy from like Back to the Future, right? It's not that homeless guy.
I don't think it's that guy. I don't think it's that guy. The wino or whatever.
Sure.
Way to get typecast though like that. Like what
Hey, he paid his mortgage with that.
Dude, no, I saw I think it was a dude from RoboCop who was like there was a bad guy in RoboCop who was like, there were these 3 goons that was like trying to attack a woman in RoboCop. And whoever the lead dude was, like, had been credited as like being rapist, like in 4 or 5 different movies. That's bad news. Like, it's like, dude, you have great rapist vibes about you.
Oh my God, the only thing that could be worse is I think being typecast as like a Nazi.
Yeah, I look just like Hitler.
Yeah.
But I just think to myself, like, how bad those pants would smell. The homeless guy's pants. Those things haven't seen the laundry in a while.
You know what? But to Kyle Reese, I bet you they don't smell bad at all. I bet you he's absolutely used to it.
Reese is probably dirty as hell. Like, I don't know what the shower situation is like in the future.
Yeah, I bet you Reese is, he smelled worse by far.
And also, I don't care how brave you are, you probably shit your pants at least once seeing a Terminator in the future for the first time.
Oh, so you're saying there's shit in those pants?
I think in his pants that exist in 2029.
Yeah, he's saying in the future,
okay.
Yeah, he at least once.
I think the homeless man's pants probably has some shit in it, too.
Well, yeah, undoubtedly, that. But I'm just thinking, like, Kyle Reese, the first time you saw a Terminator, you crapped your pants.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So just then, the police show up, and Reese takes off running. And a policeman goes chasing after Reese on foot.
Okay.
But why, though?
Exactly.
Like, what had Reese done wrong as far as they know? Hey, you in the alley. I'm just going to chase you.
I could never understand why they automatically chased him the way they did. Like, it made no sense. Like, in fact, I don't even think when they show the shot of Reese, he's literally just pulling up his pants, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even see the homeless guy. So they don't even know that he assaulted the homeless guy. But let's say they did see that.
The cop had a gun out already.
Yeah, they were like ready to like kill him or at least arrest him.
Stealing pants.
And I've never understood that. I've watched the movie several times, and that one scene is like, why do they automatically chase Kyle Reese?
I don't even know why they're stopping. Like, maybe they got a call about the electrical disturbance, the blue lightning.
I figured that's why they were patrolling the area, because they were like, hey, we got this disturbance downtown. Somebody go check it out, right? But they were like guns drawn, ready to fuck up Kyle Reese.
Free, sucker! It was like that shit. But, Reese, he runs off, right? And the police is chasing after him. And then, but Reese gets the jump on this guy, and he takes his gun and aims it at him. And he's like, what day is it? And the guy says, it's the 12th of May, it's Thursday. And then he's like, what year? And the cop's confused.
Like, what?
I saw this scene was in the trailer, and the cop in the trailer had a totally different voice than the cop. So they must have picked somebody else to like dub it over. Maybe they didn't like the way that the dude, because he kind of had like a high-pitched voice kind of in the trailer. And then they gave him a deep
James
voice
Earl
in the
Jones
movie.
To do it?
But I do think about like a small time actor like this guy who you might not know until you're at the movie, like to see yourself that they took your voice out and swapped it with someone else's.
Oh, that's
brutal.
they
didn't call this guy to tell him, hey, buddy, we're changing your voice.
I'm wondering how much I would care though. Like, I'm still in the movie. That's
but
me.
But you would like your voice to be the one that's heard.
Yeah, but if I had to change something, it would be. I wouldn't want them to change me out of the movie.
Yeah, at least they didn't chop you out.
Like, I was like, hell yeah, that was my voice. I'm an actor, right? That's
like,
what I do.
They gave me a deep. But you would feel insecure, wouldn't you? If they like gave you a deeper, more like manly voice.
I think the Darth Vader, what's his name? He should feel
James
bad.
Earl Jones?
I think everybody else should feel okay with it.
Okay.
No,
you mean the British dude?
Yeah, the British
Prowse.
actor that played.
Whatever his name was, he just passed away.
David Prowse. Yeah.
Yeah. But so back in Terminator Land, more police show up. Reese runs off again. He like breaks into this department store.
Yes.
the police are searching for him all over the place. He's like taking clothes off the rack. He grabs a pair of Nikes out of the basket.
Like, establish that, right? Establish that there's like a psycho killer or something, or there's a reason.
Oh, you're just saying there's way too many police?
Yes, like they're almost hit the whole department after him.
Well, at this point, he has like assaulted an officer and taken his gun.
That was still a lot of cops.
But that was too quick. They were there already.
Because the store was like right around the corner, and there were already like 10 cops there.
You're right. I can't argue with you.
No, this always just frustrated me. Like when I see that scene, I'm like, it makes no sense for them to already be hunting Kyle Reese. And the only reason they did it is because Cameron wants you to think that Kyle Reese is the bad guy, and Arnold, the Terminator, is just
strolling around
like
punching holes
exactly.
in
Like nothing, like not a care in the world. And Reese is already like, but I thought it was cool because it kind of establishes Reese being able to get away from like authorities. So that part of it is cool, right? But
he's resourceful, right?
Yeah, I just never understood the whole. Whatever. That makes me mad, Cameron. Change that.
Those Nikes though were pretty sweet, like those vintage Nikes, the high top with the Velcro.
And the fact that he knew to like, what if they had been like the pump ups and he knew to pump up the shoes because he pulled that Velcro on, you know?
Oh man, it was not the best search the police were doing though, I will say, because he like ran up the escalator and then the cop just shined his flashlight up and kept on moving.
Yeah, he should have smelled that shit.
I don't see him in the
right?
escalator, so I'm not going to check upstairs. But yeah, so Reese, he climbs out the window like out of fire escape. He jumps off the fire escape, and they did a pretty sweet like Texas switch where some stuntman jumped off the fire escape, and then Michael Biehn popped up from behind the police car. Because there's no way that's Michael Biehn that went off the fire escape.
Is that the official term, Texas switch?
Yeah, they call it a Texas switch.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
When like the stuntman will take a fall, and then behind a bale of hay or some shit, you know, and then another guy pops out.
That's really cool.
So Reese steals a shotgun out of this unattended police car.
Out of a police car. Steals a shotgun out of an unattended police car.
That's got to be against police procedure.
I mean,
you leave the door open with a shotgun just sitting there.
And what if a little kid had walked up and like taken that shotgun out of the car?
Exactly.
They had to get this pantsless man. We've already established that he is a existential threat.
I know this will probably be the most excited I get throughout this whole podcast because this is always just bothering me. Other than that, I'm like, oh, this movie's cool.
Then they just had the gun sitting there?
Yeah. They just had a gun sitting in a police car.
So Reese takes the gun. He hides it under his trench coat. He like blends in with the people out on the street. He stops at a payphone. He tears out this page of the phone book that had the Sarah Connor listings on it. I feel like the concept of a phone booth or phone book is just like lost on kids today.
Sure, yeah.
Like if they were to see the movie, they'd be like, what's that?
Sure.
What's a phone book? I'm confused. Yeah, but now we cut to the next day. We see young Sarah Connor. She's riding her scooter up to her job at Big Jeff's like diner. That scooter looked kind of futuristic.
Yeah.
I thought it looked like the robot from Rocky IV. The scooter. It was just like bizarrely like
Servotron
futuristic.
Or whatever that thing was
whatever
called.
That dude's name was. Yeah, the Polly's like girlfriend, the robot or whatever.
Maybe it was like a transformer because the Transformers have been here for like millions of years, apparently, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, if we believe the Michael Bay Transformer shit.
Yeah.
So she chains her scooter up to this big like burger holding statue. It's a great bit of storytelling. I think she goes in, she punches the time clock so we see that she's Sarah Connor without them having to sort of work it into some weird clunky dialogue that she's Sarah.
Like, hey, Sarah Connor, you're late for work today.
Yeah. So elsewhere, the Terminator punches through the window of the station wagon and he gets in. And this is the bit I've told Mike about before, where the way that Schwarzenegger tells the story is like this was one of the last things they shot and they were just rushing they didn't have permits or anything. And like he had sort of a metal plate on his fist and he had this glove on over and James Cameron was just like, man, just go punch through that window. And it was like a real car window.
I don't believe that for one second.
I don't know. I want to believe it, man. I mean, I think he's strong enough to do it.
You know what I think really happened is they probably already had a fake window and they just told him to punch it because they were just feeding his ego. I can see that happening. Because there's no way he punched through a real window.
This was a conversation that he and Cameron were having on this interview, and Cameron was like saying, I thought it was funny that you didn't even ask any questions. Like I just said, go. You're going to punch through the window, and you were like, okay, and walked over and punched right through the window. Like you didn't ask, like, what do you mean? Is it safe?
I don't
or anything
think
like that.
Jingle All the Way Schwarzenegger, I think he would have had questions.
Yeah,
but I think Terminator Schwarzenegger was like, nah, I'm hungry.
He was not like,
I want to be a movie star.
He was not like the $100 million man or whatever,
exactly.
Yet, right? But so, yeah, he gets in this car, he rips the casing right off the steering column and just turns the ignition and drives off. I don't know if that would work or not, but I'm kind of curious.
What do you mean? Like, is that how you would hotwire a car? Or
because it's not like he didn't have wires exposed or anything. He just sort of like ripped the shit right off and twisted the thing that the key would twist, I guess.
Just sheer force.
Maybe. Yeah,
brute force. But he's probably got all that programmed into him, right?
Sure,
like he knows how to do it. Now, back at Big Jeff's, Sarah Connor's dealing with the lunch rush. She had this table of it was like the most mismatched table of people I've ever seen. There was like a dude who was wearing a tie, like business attire, and then a grandma and a guy like in biker leathers. I was just like wondering, what are they all doing together? That's a weird group.
They could make a whole movie about that, right?
But she like knocks a drink into the leather guy's lap. And she's like, oh, this isn't real leather, is it? And then this little kid at the next booth over like drops a scoop of ice cream in her pocket of her apron or whatever it is. And I'm like thinking to myself, there's no kid in the world that's like dumping his ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that's the least believable moment in the whole movie, I think, is that the kid would throw his ice cream away.
Having waited tables before for a long time, I that scene is 100% real.
Oh, like, yeah?
I'm not saying
it's a hard world.
I don't think it would have all happened in one day, but yes, I think all of that would have happened. Sure.
Oh, I like that. Then I like that this is like a compressed like version of her life.
Exactly.
James Cameron probably waited a table or two in his time, also.
Yeah.
Like working trying to make it in the film business. But this other waitress, like the friend of Sarah's, walks by and she's like, "Look at it this way: in 100 years, who's going to care?" Which I feel like is kind of foreshadowing.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, especially when we get to like the answer machine, right?
Because like actually, like whatever Sarah's doing, people are going to care about in 100 years, right? Yeah. Now, the Terminator walks into Alamo Gun Shop. It's run by Dick Miller, the actor. I love this guy.
Yeah.
Like he was the Mr. Futterman in the Gremlins.
Yeah, probably most famous for the Gremlins movie, sure.
Yeah, he's just so good, man. And we got the Terminator. He's like picking like a wide range of guns. He's got this expert knowledge, it seems like. He gets the 45 with the laser scope, which I feel like that had to be one of the first appearances of a laser scope in a movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a gun nut, but I'm sure it probably was because Cameron wanted the movie to be futuristic, so he was like, well, what can I put in this movie that's going to look that nobody really knows about? So I'm sure that it was all futuristic stuff.
Every exchange that Terminator has with the gun shop owner to me is amazing. Where the guy's like, anything else? And he's like, do you have a phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range?
That's what I got here, buddy.
Like, hey, just what you see, pal. He's like, oh, I'll have the Uzi 9mm. And he's like, oh, you know your weapons. Yeah. Any one of these is ideal for home defense.
Yeah, exactly, like a Uzi.
Like, you do not need an Uzi.
For home defense, right?
Defense.
I love that that's how he was trying to like sell that, right?
Yeah. So he was like, well, which one do you want, basically? And the Terminator says he'll take all the guns. And the salesman's like, oh, I might close up early today. In Terminator, he starts loading the shotgun with shells, and dude's like, "Hey, you can't do that."
Yeah, he kind of does it off to the side though. So I looked at it again. I was like, he kind of does it when the salesman, Dick Miller, has his back turned, and his Miller's turning back around. He's like, "Hey, wait a minute, you can't load that gun up." And he's like,
Arnold's like, "Wrong." I feel like he uses that line in multiple movies.
That is what's so cool about Arnold Schwarzenegger is that we've talked about this before. That guy has a less than 100 words in this movie, right? But he makes every one of them stick, right?
It's Hannibal Lecter-ish.
Yeah, he has a way of just saying like three things, and that's more powerful than somebody else's monologue in the movie. Some people just have it, and Schwarzenegger has it, man. That's why he has his own podcast right now.
You're talking about our podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to that phased plasma rifle, is that the same? Is that the same weapon that's used in Aliens?
I think so. I think Cameron like had it in his mind. This would be the weapon that is used in the future.
Okay, because I feel like I was like, I heard that thing, and I was like,
I think they called it like a plasma rifle or something.
Oh,
sure.
so
you're not shooting bullets, you're shooting like I don't know what, like a little beam of energy.
Yeah,
right, and that's what they were shooting in those callback scenes for Reese, right? The plasma weapons.
Yeah. The ones that shoot a beam out or something instead of like just a metal projectile, which is so like primitive, you know?
I thought they had bullets in Aliens because I remember whatchamacallit had to collect all their cartridges.
But it was like these little tiny little plug things that go in the gun that must contain all the plasma or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. But yes, I think you're 100% right, Kevin. Like it is like the very same thing because I think Cameron has a very set in his mind like vision of what the future is going to be like, because in all his movies the future sort of resembles all of his other movies vision of the future, I think.
And I just love the continuity of like little things like that through his films. Like I think that's cool that weapon exists in sort of like these multiple universes.
Maybe it is, it's like the Cameron universe. Like it's all the same world.
What was the name of we probably shouldn't get too much into Aliens. I was trying to figure out what's the name of the company that sends Ripley back to
Wyland.
It's like Wayland, it's a Japanese word.
So it's not Cyberdyne.
No, it's not Cyberdyne. No. But I think what we get from this is like the Terminator is a bad boy. Like he just is going to kill anyone at the drop of a hat. So we know for sure he's a bad guy at this point.
Yeah, and again, not to harp on this, but I'm going to. Like there are no police chasing this guy, right?
Right. He's the one who's actually like leaving bodies.
Look how many people he's already killed, and we've barely got into this movie yet.
We got to find the pants thief,
and we got to find the guy that stole pants from an old dude. Like that makes no sense.
Well, that's sort of like an 80s trope, right? Is like these establishment things are always cast in the light of being like sort of imbecilic or buffoonish, right? And it's like the cops can't get it right. The real murderer, the real bad guy's going around carnage, but they're going after some joker who stole a poor homeless guy's pants. Like he's the threat.
Right?
Yes. So elsewhere, the pants thief, Kyle Reese, he is sawing the stock off of that police shotgun that he stole to make it easier to like hide under his jacket.
Where'd he get the saw?
Where did he just find a saw blade lying around? I mean, conceivably, maybe he could have, but I don't know. Maybe he went in the hardware store and stole it. Yeah. I'm sure that's what happened. They just didn't show us.
And they
scene.
put an APB out for him. Look out for the guy that stole the saw from the hardware store.
Saw blade thief. So now the Terminator, he rolls up to a payphone. He yanks this sort of burly biker away from the phone. That dude was like a character, man. The big guy with overalls and big hair and a beard.
Yeah.
Like something out of like pro wrestling or some shit.
What does he say to him? Do you remember?
Well, the biker's like trying to call someone to come pick him up because his bike broke down or something. And then he's like, "Hey, buddy, you got a serious attitude."
Yeah, that's what it was.
But so Terminator didn't kill that guy. Is that one of your examples of like he doesn't just kill everyone?
Yeah, he just needed the phone, right? So he didn't kill the guy.
Get out of my way.
Yeah, but I bet if that guy had fought back, he would have killed him.
Oh, of course. He probably just grab some dude's like throat and crush or their skull.
Sure, yeah.
Or some shit. But yeah, so Terminator, he flips to the Sarah Connor page in the phone book. We see that there's 3 Sarah Connors listed there. He takes I think he just memorizes it. He doesn't need to steal the page like Reese did.
Yeah, he just needed their address, right?
Yeah, because I think he can store it in the memory banks or whatever. So then we cut to the station wagon, like rolls up and crushes this little toy truck, which I always remembered that moment as from watching it, even when I was like a little kid or whatever.
That's that shot of Cameron again.
Oh, like crushing something?
Crushes, something rolls over top of something and crushes it.
Facts.
It's like it's Quentin Tarantino's feet fetish, right?
That's Cameron's fetish is like just seeing things
crushing
get run over
with cars.
What happened in his youth that led to that moment? I wonder. Like
Cameron's,
like he has some sort of traumatic moment with his toy getting run over. Or
his mom backed over his foot, like in the station wagon, and he just always remembered it.
I always wondered. Also, like I feel like the truck is maybe like the exact same truck that appears again at the end of the film. Like that I don't know if it was like the same model or if that's just how every truck looked back then, but I don't know what was going on there.
I thought you were going to say the truck from T2.
T2 also. Yeah, it's like the same one.
I could see that for sure.
It wasn't like it was like the cab was forward, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we're in this, I guess, residential neighborhood. There's like kids playing in the street and stuff like that. There's a little dog that's yapping at the Terminator, which is our first hint that dogs are able to detect this is not a human, I guess.
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah, and they don't at this point they haven't even established that dogs can spot Terminators.
Yeah, it's just Cameron, I think, being smart, right?
Yeah.
So now Terminator goes and knocks on the door. A middle-aged woman opens the door just a crack. Terminator asks, Sarah Connor? She's like, yes. And he just like busts the door down and shoots her as she's like looking on confused. That was like, he emptied the clip on her too. I do remember that from watching on the TV edit. Like, I think on TV edit, it was a one shot.
Yeah.
And then on the unedited, it was like 9 shots or something. Like, he just emptied the gun.
And what's so funny to me is, like, he gets her lined up with his sights, like, right square in the forehead, right?
Yeah.
And I was always thinking, like, why don't these people run away? I'm sure they would still get killed, but I don't think that Cameron's trying to establish that the Terminator's that quick. But the people are just so dumbfounded that they stand there like awe of what's happening. I feel like in real life, if somebody came to your door and then pulled out a gun and like then it took the time to raise it to your forehead, I'm slamming the door in their face, right? or kicking the door or running away or dodging or something.
I don't know.
But he's so quick because he does it twice, right?
Well, we don't see him kill the middle Sarah Connor at all, right?
Well, because that would have been Ginger, right?
Yeah, we don't see him kill. There's a second Sarah Connor that gets killed off screen.
That's right.
But yeah, this woman, I think she was just so in shock, I guess.
It's still a gun. Like,
yeah.
I know she's smart enough to know what a gun looks like.
Shit, I guess so. I don't know. But man, it was another cold-blooded kill from the Terminator. Now, we'll cut back to Big Jeff's, where Sarah's coworker drags her to the back, like the break room.
And she's counting her tips from the day, right? I thought she had a shitty day.
Sarah was?
Yeah, she's counting her tips.
Well, you get tips even if you're shitty, right?
Not if you're that shitty.
Damn, it's hard out here. I thought it was odd that there was another waitress, shoes off, like with her feet up on the table back there. And I was like, damn, that's nasty.
Yeah.
They're like, people were eating off the table and she had her like bare ass feet up on the table.
That was Tarantino. He shot that one scene.
He was like the second unit
director.
Is that how
Tarantino started his whole career?
Yeah.
It's like...
Awesome. So on TV, basically, there's a newscast. It's talking about the murder of Sarah Connor. And I thought to myself, Mike and I, we work on the news, and this would be really, really quick to be giving the name of the person who was killed already, like just a couple hours after it happened.
Sure,
or something.
Yeah.
Like normally they would notify all the family and all that type stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe it was looser back in the day. I don't know.
At least let the kids know, right? Hey, your mom just got shot.
Right.
Instead of finding out on the news.
But so her friend says to Sarah, "You're dead, honey." And that's a fucking great line.
Yeah.
That is a good place to wrap up this episode, though. And we can pick it up next week with a whole lot more Terminator action.
Thanks, Egan, for joining us. And we will be back.